Let's cut straight to it. Someone wrongs you. You fantasize about watching their world burn from a safe emotional distance, maybe even holding the lighter. Is that just human nature, or is it the beginning of your own downfall? Today we're asking the heavy question: is revenge ever morally justifiable, or is it always a one-way ticket to chaos? This isn't a Marvel movie. There's no dramatic score playing while you avenge your family's honor with flawless cheekbones and a slow-motion explosion in the background. Real revenge is messy, raw, and deeply human. But is it also morally right? Or is it always a poisonous loop disguised as justice? Let's dig deep, stir up some debate, and get real uncomfortable with the gray zones. And spoiler alert, the answer isn't as neat as yes or no. In fact, it might just depend on how badly you've been burned. Let's define our terms first, because revenge and justice often get thrown into the same ethical blender. Only one of them is supposed to be served cold. Revenge is personal. It's reactive. It's a response to a perceived wrong, usually carried out by the victim or someone close to them, and more often than not it's fueled by emotion. Think passion, rage, humiliation, or grief. Justice, on the other hand, is supposed to be impartial. It's administered by systems like courts, legal codes, society at large. Ideally, it prioritizes fairness over feelings. But here's the kicker. People turn to revenge when justice fails. You're mugged and the guy walks free on a technicality. Your sister is assaulted and the system barely shrugs. Your child is bullied and nobody steps in. That gnawing pit in your stomach. That's not just anger. That's betrayal from a system that said it would protect you and didn't. So naturally you think, if nobody else will set things right, maybe I should. But is that moral? Let's ask the philosophers, starting with the Og of moral dilemmas, Immanuel Kant. He'd say no hard, no revenge, for Kant violates the categorical imperative, which says treat others as ends in themselves, not as tools for your emotional satisfaction. So using someone's suffering to balance the scales isn't justice, it's moral failure. But utilitarians like John Stuart Mill might see it differently. If your revenge somehow prevents future harm or deters others, maybe it could be moral. Example: you take down a known abuser and suddenly the community feels safer. The consequence is good. The method is still up for debate. Then there's Nietzsche, who basically kicks the hornet's nest and yells vengeance is power. He saw revenge as part of the human will to power. It's not about balance. It's about reclaiming agency in a world that stripped you of it. Is that moral? Maybe not by textbook definitions, but is it human? Absolutely. So moral justification might depend on which moral compass you're using, and spoiler alert, none of them come with GPS. Quick pause. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe revenge can ever be morally justified? I want the whole spectrum, from burn it all down to turn the other cheek. Just keep it civil. We're here for debate, not digital duels. Here's the hard truth. Revenge feels good, at least temporarily. Brain scans show that planning revenge activates the same part of the brain associated with pleasure. It's like your own twisted dopamine rush, but the high doesn't last. Why? Because revenge rarely delivers closure. It often invites escalation. Let's take an example from real life. Feuds between families or gangs. You hit me, I hit you harder. Then your cousin shows up with a bat and now we've got a Netflix documentary. The Hatfields and McCoys, Romeo and Juliet's families, cartel wars. These aren't just fictional plot lines. They're the blueprint of how personal vendettas morph into generational tragedy. On a micro level, revenge can isolate you. People admire justice, but they fear a grudge holder. And you're stuck reliving the original wound every time you plot your next move. Psychologists call this rumination. It's the mental version of picking at a scab expecting it to heal. But let's flip it. What if revenge is the only option? What if the system is so broken, so corrupt, that not taking justice into your own hands feels like betrayal? Let's go global for a sec. Think about authoritarian regimes. Think about war zones or places with no rule of law. In some cases, revenge becomes a form of resistance. When the courts are puppets and the cops are on the payroll, your options shrink fast. There are real people like whistleblowers, dissidents, and survivors of war crimes who have sought vengeance not for personal satisfaction but to send a message. You don't get to erase what you did to us. Is that moral? Again, it depends on your ethical lens. From a consequentialist perspective, maybe yes. From a deontological one, probably not. From a human perspective, it's complicated. Let's not pretend the justice system is flawless. People are wrongly convicted. Some are never convicted. Some are protected by power, wealth, or loopholes so big you could drive a convoy through them. In these cracks, revenge sometimes blooms not because people are evil but because they're desperate. But even when it feels justified, revenge can spiral. That's the danger. You can start with moral clarity and end with moral confusion. Take vigilantism. On paper, it's justice when the system fails. In practice, it's often messy, racially biased, and dangerous. One wrong assumption, one moment of rage, and suddenly you're not the hero. You're the next villain. And here's the real kicker. Revenge doesn't erase the original harm. It doesn't undo the trauma. It just spreads. The pain like wildfire. There's a reason so many spiritual and philosophical traditions urge restraint. Buddhism preaches letting go of hatred. Christianity emphasizes forgiveness. Even secular humanists believe that breaking the cycle is the first step toward healing. Let's talk culture. In media, revenge sells like hotcakes, from John Wick to Kill Bill 2. Game of Thrones, we love a revenge arc, but there's a pattern. The hero is usually broken by the end, or dead, or both. Why? Because revenge often demands more than we expect. It asks for your peace, your relationships, your sanity. Now compare that to truth and reconciliation commissions like in South Africa after apartheid. Those weren't about revenge. They were about acknowledgement, about systemic justice, not personal payback. And it worked, maybe not perfectly, but enough to prevent civil war. Let's tackle a myth. Forgiveness is not letting someone off the hook. It doesn't mean forgetting or saying what happened was okay. Forgiveness is often about choosing yourself, your peace, your future, your sanity, over carrying the weight of rage. But that choice? It's deeply personal, and nobody should be guilted into it. Some people forgive to move on, others need justice first, and some never get either. We can't prescribe morality like a vitamin. People process pain in different ways. Some seek therapy, others seek revenge. Ideally, though, we build systems that make revenge feel unnecessary. That's the real moral goal. So is revenge ever morally justifiable? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on the motive, the outcome, the context, and the alternatives. Morality isn't math. It's more like a minefield, and revenge. It's the path with the most glitter and the highest body count. But it's also human, deeply, viscerally human. And in understanding why we want revenge, we can start asking better questions. Not just about our enemies, but about the systems we build and the pain we carry. We're not all going to agree, and that's okay. In fact, that's kind of the point. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever taken revenge and regretted it? Or did it finally bring you closure? Are you team let it go or team light it up? Keep it respectful. This is a space for conversation, not condemnation. And if you found this thought-provoking, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives like this, and share it with the one person you know still plotting against their ex, because hey, better to debate revenge than to act on it, right?